have Bruce live in the locker room in Tallahassee celebrating on the field with the Florida State. For NC State, 27 straight points for Clemson tonight. Like you said, you're not going to win games like that. It can't happen. And I don't know why. Like, we were able to run the ball so well in the first half, especially to the left side, and then all of a sudden we started to abandon it. And like I said, there is some inconsistency.
How are they going to approach this game? How are they going to beat this Florida State team?
Well, we're going to break you guys.
That's it. The show's over.
In the story, we're going to break you guys. Look, and I'm joking, but it's true.
Lord, decline continues, KB. Oh my God!
I am sweating.
Look at my heart. Look.
You know what? Yeah, I understand.
That his roommate was drafted in the NFL. He's a very famous football player. I'm not going to name him. Oh, I remember his name, Jack Lambert. You ever heard of Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay. Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh. His roommate in college helped negotiate his deal when he was drafted.
All right, and welcome back to Seminoles Sideline 365. As always, you are with myself, KB, and as always, and here it comes the phone call, KB. I will be right back. Old man, take them away. I have an important phone call. Be right back.
Okay, KB had an important issue. I think it was something about a plumbing issue at his house. And, when you're waiting on someone to call you, like the plumber, you better jump off and take the damn call. We knew it would come in right at showtime. So no big deal. Okay, welcome to Seminole Sideline 365. You got Bruce, the old man, and KB will join us here shortly when he gets done with his issue that he's going to try to get coordinated and take care of. Well, big Saturday coming up. Big Saturday afternoon game. Florida State ranked number 1 in our hearts and number 5 by the AP. I believe it's the AP, number 5. We've slipped down a spot despite a bye week, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about this Virginia Tech Hokies football team and what they're going to bring into Tallahassee for this battle at 3:30. Thank God it's not a noon kickoff, because as everybody knows, noon games suck, and they do. They're bad for everybody. They're bad for the players. They're bad for TV. They're bad for the viewers. They're bad for the fans. Nobody likes them. They're bad for tailgates. 3:30 is acceptable, okay? It's acceptable. But that'll be a 3:30 kickoff in the Doak Campbell Stadium. And then we're also going to talk about what this Florida State team needs to do in this game against Virginia Tech, as well as what they need to do the rest of the season, okay? Because the question we're going to address is winning enough now to get into the playoff hunt. And let's phrase it as playoff hunt. Could you win out and still not get there? Well, of course, there's always a couple of teams that are ranked 5th and 6th who don't make it into the top 4. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and what Florida State needs to do. And one of the things we're going to kick off the discussion with is, or a little bit later maybe, we're going to talk about Coach JB. If you know who Coach JB is, he has a YouTube channel. Coach JB was a football coach for Last Chance U. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. Last Chance U. He was a football coach there until he got fired. Okay? He was fired for a variety of reasons, and now his job is sitting on the couch at home and taking swipes at people. And today, he took a very big swipe at Florida State and a big swipe at Jordan Travis. He called them overrated. He called both of them overrated. And so we will definitely address that tonight in a very candid fashion. Now, if you know anything about this program, we are not affiliated with any network. We're not affiliated with any sponsorships. We are an independent, unaffiliated program. We are here to give our candid assessments and opinions, and that's what they are. We're not inside experts. We don't have inside media credentials, but we do monitor a lot what's going on about Florida State as well as other teams across the country. Now, you know, sometimes I will even speak about Colorado, much to KB's disdain. I will talk about Coach Prime and Colorado, and because I'm also alum of Colorado as well as an alum of Florida State. So given that, let's launch right into this Virginia Tech team that's coming in here, because they are the opponent that's coming in here on Saturday. Now, the last time I looked, which was maybe a day or so, was that they are a 24-point underdog coming into this game. So Florida State, has had trouble beating the spread this year in a couple of games. And so the question will become, can they beat this spread? First of all, can they win the game? Well, in my opinion, there's absolutely no doubt that Florida State will win this ball game. No doubt. Okay, this game, it's not about Florida State winning the game as much as it is about how big will Florida State win this game. And that may be probably the greatest concern of this ball game. Florida State cannot just skimp by and escape Virginia Tech with a narrow victory. At this point, yes, it is important to win the game. Don't get me wrong. But there's more on the line now if you're talking about national polls. If you're talking about national polls, winning may not be enough for Florida State. It's going to be how big they win against the remainder of their schedule, and including this game against a Virginia Tech team, which is 2 wins and 3 losses coming in. And they're not an impressive ball club at this point. They are a team early in a rebuild. Okay, early in a rebuild. You got a new coach, new coaching staff, the quarterback, Kyron Drone, has just taken over the reins at quarterback. Now, Kyron Drone, he's a big guy. I mean, he's like 6'4", maybe 6'3", 6'4", 230 pounds. He's got an arm. He can throw deep. He can throw the short ball. And more importantly, and probably more interesting for Florida State's defense, is he can run the ball. And he's willing to run the ball. And he's probably more willing to run the ball than to throw it into tight coverage. So Florida State is going to face yet another running quarterback. And they've seen them before. They've seen these running quarterbacks before. Jaden Daniels from LSU is a good example. So given that this guy can run, he can cause problems for the Florida State defense. Their victory, they're 1-0 in the ACC conference play, and they beat Pittsburgh last weekend 38-21. And the quarterback, Kyron Drone, he was involved in 5 touchdowns himself. So he looks like the heir apparent to the quarterback positions at Virginia Tech. So I fear quarterback Kyron Drone's running ability probably more than his passing ability at this point. Now, I think one of the things that's going to be of great concern for Florida State is, can they get off the field on third down with the Virginia Tech offense? I think that is going to be a key. At this point, on national statistics, Florida State is ranked 48th in the country with getting off the giving up not getting off the field 35% of the time. All right, so that this getting off the field is going to be important in establishing the defense against Virginia Tech. This is a team you do not want to give any momentum to. And this is a team that you want to beat handily. And as I said earlier, this to me is more of a game about how much we beat them by than it is a game, are we going to win? I have no problem with us winning and beating Virginia Tech Hokies. But I do have a problem if we can't make the spread, which to me should be easy. It's about 24 points. We're at home. This is not a good football team. They're a early stage rebuilding team. KB, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting matchup. Like you said, I don't think there's any more excuses for this team. You either have to start putting up or you got to shut up, and that applies to fans alike. If you're the number 5 team in the country, you got to start playing like it at some point. And, you can't have the BC close games. You could say, oh, that's because of a couple of fumbles. Well, at this point, either that becomes a trend or those are just one-offs and those are just bad games that you pulled out of. Virginia Tech is the prime example. A 2-3 team, not a great team by all examples we've seen so far. They just did have their best game of the season against a 1-3 Pitt team. But they put it together for the first time really since week 1. I do think that, like you said, Florida State needs to cover the spread. It's starting to work against them in terms of, one poll has them as number 5, one poll has them as number 4, but they're sliding backwards due to the way that they look against their opponents in terms of the way that they're finishing, right? The way that they're putting the wins together. And, you could say a win's a win. And I get that. I understand a win is a win, and I'm not taking anything against that. But in the eyes of the voters, in the eyes of the, with this playoff committee, the way you do look is taken into consideration, right? And the good thing, the thing that does work out for Florida State is that we still do have ranked opponents on our schedule. You still have Miami. You still have Duke. You are going to have opportunities to look good to the committee if you continue to win out. But you need to take care of the little guys, quote unquote, this week. You need to look good and blow these people out for the committee to show you are the number 5 team in the country and you look like it week in and week out, especially going against a Virginia Tech team that you have a lot more talent than, that you have the veteran experience against, right? You can't come out and look like you did against BC. Jordan Travis in this offense, that's filled with playmakers, needs to show it. They need to play like it, right? Or, we need to start evaluating. If they don't, what is going on? If we come out of the bye week and we look slow and we look, lethargic, and we look like, every other drive is a 3 and out and we can't seem to put I know the points are there, right? You put up 31 in overtime against Clemson. You've put up, what are the point spreads? You put up 31 points, 31 to BC, 66 against a bad Southern Miss team. People were saying, oh, Southern Miss is a bowl eligible team. They're not making the bowl game.
They made USM lose their coach.
USM was a bad team now that we see that. So that 66 points was against a very bad Southern Miss team. But you put up 45 against LSU, which their defense looks very not great so far in the season. You saw the Ole Miss game last week. If you watch that shootout, LSU does not have an elite defense from what's seen, but you still put up those points. We need to see both sides of the ball finally come together and play on the same page. Both of them clicking at the same time, put the full game on the field. Because I don't know if we've seen outside of, like I said, parts of the LSU game. I think you played really good against LSU. Outside of that week 1 game, I don't know if you've seen both sides of the ball click at the same time since that point. Now, I'm not counting Southern Miss because you played an inferior team on that. So I want to see that. I think you can do it. like you said before, Virginia Tech has a quality quarterback that they found. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's great. I think he's average to good quarterback in Kyron Drones. He certainly can use his legs, but he's not Jordan Travis. He's not, the guy you played at BCI, Castellanos. He doesn't have that breaking speed, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of Anthony Richardson in terms of his size. And you have to go for his legs. You have to finish the tackle against him because he'll break away and he can break off. If you try to take him in the backfield and you only arm tackle him, he'll break away and he'll chunk off 15, 20 yards. And they like to use him in motion. They like to use him on the pitch game. So you need to be able to, and I think someone pointed out, you may have pointed this out, is that Florida State's in the top 5 in terms of getting up rushing yards to mobile quarterbacks this season. And they struggled to contain mobile quarterbacks this season. Especially outside of, when you look at Castellanos and Jaden Daniels, you face these guys and you struggled against them. So outside of that was a lot of words. I think Florida State should handle their business. They should cover the spread. But we will have to have a very big conversation if after that game, this game is close. If it's 14 points, if it's 11 points in a win, there's going to be a lot of questions that need to be asked about what this team's going to do. Because like I said, you have some tough teams on the horizon. You have a Miami offense that is clicking right now. Granted, they haven't played many great teams so far, and I include Texas A&M in that. But they haven't played the ACC schedule yet. But you have that Miami team. You have a good Duke team who may or may not have their quarterback back, but they have a pretty good defense. And you're going to have some opponents that you're going to have to finish out here. So go ahead and take care of business. I think they will against Virginia Tech. And it's really going to come down to, can you make Kyron Drones become a passing quarterback? Can you contain his legs and his ability to make plays with his legs and make him have to throw from the pocket, a breaking down pocket? You bring the pressure on the quarterback, you break down that pocket, and you contain him on the edges, and linebackers do their job in finishing tackles. I think this becomes a blowout very quickly. Because I do not think they'll be able to run up the middle. They weren't able to run up the middle very effectively against Pitt. I don't think they'll be able to run effectively against Virginia, against us up the middle. They're going to try to go sideline to sideline, and that's where you got to contain them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, like I said, this week, I haven't really paid that much attention to the Hokies because I'm not really fearful of them. I'm more fearful, as I said, about what the score is going to be.
Yeah.
We shouldn't. We're not even talking about winning the game. We're going to win the game. Okay. If we don't win the game, there will be more than just a few questions. There'll be very big, glaring questions. Okay, which hopefully the inside media credentialed people will ask. Which I sent KB an article earlier this week of how softball questions came to Coach Prime after Oregon beat them up, and they had some final 3 minutes or whatever it was. USC. Bad drives. No one even asked a question about it. And somebody wrote an article in national media press about why aren't people asking better questions? So there will be big questions if Florida State squeaks by Virginia Tech, doesn't beat the spread against Virginia Tech, doesn't take care of their business against Virginia Tech. And I don't want to hear, well, we came off a bye week. That's okay, because you can hug people all you want. And we're not going to apologize. There's no bigger fans than us. But we're going to be objective in our opinions. So KB, you hit it right in the mouth there, that this is about margin of victory. This is about margin of victory. The big thing I want to see too coming out of this week is, what did they do to fix the run game? All I'm hearing, this kind of gets to me. There's this love affair between FSU fans and the offensive line, and maybe it's the love affair with Coach Atkins, okay? And that's okay. I respect them both. However, I've always said it and always will, this is an average, maybe average plus offensive line. I think that's part of the problem with the rush game. I don't know if you agree with that. But all I'm hearing on all the media that I check and monitor over the week is, well, the running back's not hitting the hole fast enough. He instead of going outside, should have gone inside. Choices of which way to go. I think it's more than that. I think it really boils down to an offensive line that is not dominant. This is not a dominant line. I don't see one player on this line that is ready or can play at the next level. My opinion, okay? And I think it has a lot to do with the run game. Last week, we had 20 yards. The explanation from Coach Norvell was, well, that's a pretty good defensive front there. They have a pretty good defensive front. If you have a dominant offensive line, you're going to get at least 100 yards. I don't want to hear you're going to get 20 yards. It makes no sense to me. I don't know if you agree with that or not. The other thing I want to see is, how do we get off the field on third down? How efficient are we at getting off the damn field, not giving up big chunk plays when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, and they get first downs? That is disturbing. I want to see how that goes. And red zone efficiency when we're in the red zone. We are pretty damn good in the red zone. I think we're at 1,000%. I think we every time we've been in the red zone, I think we've scored. I could be wrong in that. You can recheck that. Someone out there can check that. But our red zone efficiency for getting a field goal or a touchdown is very, very good. So that means as long as we have the ball and we get in the red zone, we're going to score points. The last thing is, I do believe, just like in old-time basketball without the shot clock, Virginia Tech's going to try to control the football. They're going to try to make long drives and have Florida State handle the ball maybe 4 times in the first half, maybe 4 or 5 times if they can limit it to that. What was the game we had the ball 1 time in the first quarter?
I think it was the Boston College game.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So those are the things that I'm going to be focused on, and I'll be focusing on from the stands because I'm going to be at the game. Okay? So I'll be honest with you. I enjoy being at the games, but you don't see the game as well, So I'll have to rely more on statistics, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to have some of my shirts on. You'll see me walking around. If you see the old man, just give me a shout out, and it'll be good. Now, this game is sold out. As far as I know, the game is sold out. It's going to be a big, I'm already planning my parking and how I'm going to do it, but it looks like a pretty good crowd for a 3:30 game.
Yeah. I think you brought up the point about third downs in general. Third downs in general have been a struggle for Florida State. You seemingly are struggling to get off the field on third down, but you're seemingly struggling to convert on third down. I think the latest statistic was you rank 85th in the nation. You're converting at 38% on third down, which is terrible. You're not going to win
for a number 5 team in the country.
I don't care what number you are. You're not going to win. You're not going to
go undefeated this season
if you're converting 38%. It's going to bite you in the ass at some point. And some people say that's because Mike Norvell, and it could be because of this, is that Mike Norvell's always looking towards going for it on fourth down. So he's always thinking of play ahead. He's like, okay, well, I'll call like we're going to go for it on fourth down anyway. So if I get, I may call a run play on the 3rd and 8 because if I get 5 or 6 yards on this, then I know I'm going to go for it on a fourth play. So analytics may be clouding some of that play calling.
I don't
because
buy
they are converting fourth downs.
Okay, but I don't buy that. But who wants to be in a fourth down conversion situation that much?
It's what the analytics tell you, depending on what part of the field you're on.
Well,
but like I said,
I'd much rather
they
need
to convert better on third down. And they also, to your point, on both third downs, defensively and offensively. But this is, like you said, the week that they need to prove that in the bye week that they were able to play call better with the run game, because I think it was a mixture of personnel and also the types of running plays that they were calling did not put. And I think I was watching highlights over the bye week and stuff like that. I mean, there are availability for these backers to bounce it outside, and they're not doing it. I think Trey Benson struggled with it a little bit. I do think that we are missing a Trey Ward, he was the starter in terms of who started out of the backfield most of the year. And I think a little bit we're missing some of that wiggle and some of that vision that he brought to this. Whereas, and I think there is a little bit that maybe Trey's vision isn't as good as Trayshawn. Maybe
it was
wrong.
Pretty good last year. What happened to his vision?
But like I said, there's a balance. I think maybe he's not seeing the holes as well this year. I don't know. Like I said, it's just what I observe, and I'm not a running backs coach, but I think they can go back and game plan around a little bit. But I think there needs to be some balance. And if he's not seeing the holes, if he's not bouncing outside when he should be, then they need to take a step back and say, hey, Hill, Keziah, here are your 15 carries. Let's see if you can get it done. But they need to find that edge. They need to get the running game going. Or like I said, it doesn't matter if you win tomorrow. You're not gonna go undefeated. You can't win a playoff game. You can't even think about the playoffs if you can't get a running game going. And you can't be 81st in the FBS and running and expect to be successful in the playoffs. It's not going to work. You can't be 81st in third down conversion. You can't be 81st in run the ball. It's not going to work. Eventually, it's going to bite you in the ass. These things have to be fixed, and I hope that they win that bye week. They watch tape, and they have a game plan to attack Virginia Tech.
Well, to add to that, KB, you can't be a playoff team and be ranked number 95, 95th in the country in total defense, giving up 400 yards, a game. I mean, that you rank number 95th is just not good enough. And 85th in third down conversion. You start to add these things up, and we can throw whatever excuses, and people can say negativities. I'm tired. I saw that a little bit on Twitter about anybody on negative comments. You talked about that on our last show about we're giving what we see and what needs to be fixed. And anybody who doesn't think that the coaches out there don't see it, just because they don't talk about it in the boring pressers they give, okay, don't think they're not thinking about this. Of course they are. These are the things that they think about in their heads that we talk about out loud. So there are some things here that this football team needs to come out and show against this Virginia Tech Hokie team.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and like you said, it's especially offensively, it's not a personnel issue. They have the personnel to score 45, 50 points per game, in my opinion, especially
and that was the
expectation.
Like
and that's still the expectation. They still can do that in my eyes. They just have to put it all together. Game plan, coaching, players have to all do their jobs in sync, and they have to just put it together. We outside the LSU game, I don't think we've seen it since then. But I do, once again, still believe that we have that potential at home in Tallahassee. So it'll be good to be back home because once again, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had a true home game. So it'll be good to get back home and play in front of the home fans. So with your final, yeah.
Well, this thing, Wendy Lackwitz, thanks for listening in. They should, if they play up to their potential, but we can only keep saying that so many weeks and so many games because we're going to run out of potential. I mean, we're 5 games in now. There's only how many regular season? 11, 12 games? Well, you got to start bringing it together now, okay? Football is different than other sports, too, because you get one game. It's not the best of 7, best of 3, best of whatever to show your potential. You got one game to do it. So I think what we're saying is we're going to win the game, but it has to be looking good. As you said, KB, committee time is coming up. When the committee then jumps in, all their experts, they're not all experts, but they start to look at analytics. That's what they make their arguments based on. And they can only pick 4. So they'll start looking at schedules. How badly did you beat these guys? Because right now, some of the teams, as you said, Southern Mississippi, they may be making a coaching change. Everybody thought they were going to be so good, the bowl team. They're struggling. Yeah. So we're going to have to, we hope everybody on our schedule wins and keeps winning. That's what you need. When you play them, then you hope you beat them. But by how much is going to be the key.
Yeah. So, like you said, a lot to clean up after the bye week. But I still believe that, you can do it. But a lot of things have to get better. Defense has to get better. Offense has to get better. Coaching has to get better. And we'll find out on Saturday how it looks like. And hopefully it'll look clean and it'll look efficient. And we'll look like we did against LSU.
Dagby says they blame Robert Scott for not being. She's right, because I've heard this out there that, Robert Scott's been hurt. He's not in. They've got 20 guys in that offensive line room, at least. And I don't think Robert Scott is the guy that nobody's blaming him, but they're saying if he was in there, then Benson and everybody else would have more holes. I don't know if I totally buy that or not. I know Robert Scott is one of our better guys, and he's been around. He's got a lot of snaps, but I don't think he's so elite it would make that big a difference.
Well, and that's the one thing, too, is that, some people on Twitter are comparing, like, is this the 2013 run again, da-da-da, and I don't want people to be disillusioned by
No way.
like this being like 2013, because it's not. Like Florida State has the potential. They can absolutely win out. This schedule is winnable. The team has the talent and the coaching to be able to win out and make a run at.
But
things.
that doesn't mean you're going to make the top 4.
If they win out, they'll make the top 4. Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Yes, they will.
Okay. Well, I respect your opinion. I'm saying now where we used to think that, and I probably said that at some point. If you win out, you make top 4.
If you beat 4 ranked teams,
if there's 6 undefeated teams, or a one-loss,
how are there going to be 6 undefeated teams?
Or a one-loss team, you could get bounced out of there.
No, they're not with Florida State's schedule.
I don't know.
You're not going to see that.
Okay.
But what I was saying is that you can't compare this to 2013. This team does not have the amount of NFL, and that's the thing, is that we're kind of accelerating our expectations. I still think for this team, we're still 2 years away from winning 5 games, and the team still is building up through recruiting, through transfers. That whole performance gets accelerated when you go through the transfer portal. We still haven't built up the back end through the high school recruiting, and that is coming. Next year we have a great class, committed. That can change, but that looks really good. The top 5 class, and that will be Mike Norvell's best class so far. But transfers accelerate the performance, and we're only 2 years away, right, from that 5-win season. So I think we have to stand back and say, this isn't 2013 again, because look at how much NFL talent was on that team. This squad that we're looking at today isn't filled with 12 NFL players. You have Keon Coleman, you have Johnny Wilson, maybe Jaheim Bell on offense. Those 3 players, potentially Trey Benson. But I'm talking about like first round or second round, third round.
Jared Verse.
Yeah, Jared Verse, and that's maybe it. Braden Fisk, maybe. So you're talking about 4, 5, 6 players, maybe. I mean, every starter on the 2013 team got drafted. Every one of them. And you had a generational quarterback in Jameis Winston. Like, that team was different. So when people say like this is 2013 again, it's not. And that's why I want to get. And it's not fair to compare, because that team was built different. And you had literally you get a quarterback like Jameis Winston in the program. Some programs get it very routinely, which is hard to do. But it's hard to compare that. You shouldn't put that expectation on this team. This team is different, but they're trying to build it up back the right way through high school. But that portal accelerates the performance. And I think some of those expectations have gotten a little bit too high, because, like I said, you're not going to get 12 players drafted from this team. But that doesn't mean that you can't go out and win out this year. And that's what we expect. I still expect that, because I do believe, based on your schedule and what you have available to you, that you should do that. So,
what's good? What's good too, coming out of this bye week, is we've got a lot of people healed up too. It's good to see.
Ja'Kai Douglas?
Ja'Kai Douglas back. I like Ja'Kai. He's had a rough journey. He's really had a rough journey, but I think he's a hell of a good ball player. He's especially good coming out of the backfield, getting a matchup that we like, and catching the football. He catches the football very, very well. I hope he gets some looks. I hope he just can get on the field a little bit. But it looks like we're pretty healthy coming into this game. Now, the first couple of possessions, I hate to say it, may be a little rusty, because you haven't played up to speed down a couple weeks. But we're running out of excuses to get points on the board. So hopefully that's going to happen. Listen, I want to turn this topic a little bit now, unless you want to go to another.
No, the last thing was, with the addition of Ja'Kai, I want to see a slot receiver get involved in the play calling. I want us to start exploiting the middle of the field, whether it's a tight end, whether it's Ja'Kai, Winston Wright. We need to start utilizing the middle of the field, just like other teams are doing to us. I don't know why we don't attack the middle of the field. I don't know if it's a Jordan Travis vision thing, but the middle of the field should be open. You have 2 tall, big receivers who are attracting attention. You either need to exploit the one-on-one matchups, because Jordan Travis was saying 2 weeks ago, they're disrespecting us. But then, you only were able to connect with him at the last point of the game on that fade. But we need to start attacking these matchups and he needs to connect on these throws. Jordan Travis has to get sharper on these throws, on these one-on-one. If they're going to continue the one-on-one matchup, Keon Coleman, who I think we all know by now is a star and he can make big plays, he needs to start connecting on his balls. You need to start connecting and exploiting the middle of the field with your tight ends along with your slot.
Well, with that comment, KB, let's go to what Coach JB, I talked about this just briefed it up just a little bit when you were absent there. Coach JB on his show today, and I saw this on Twitter and was aghast of what I saw. Coach JB took a huge swipe at FSU and Jordan Travis. You going to run it here?
Yeah, I'll run it here.
Okay, he's gonna run a segment of this. This is Coach JB, and he is the last chance university coach who got fired and now sits on his couch and does shows every day, as many as possible, to drive views. So let's see what he had to say against Florida State.
Hyped on Florida State. They should have lost to Clemson. They should have lost to Boston College. And we're over here talking about how good Florida State is. And I'm like, I don't see it that way. I think Oregon State and Washington State would boat race Florida State. I think Utah would beat them. I also think SC would beat them in a shootout. And I think that Washington and Oregon would beat them by 40. But that's just personally my opinion.
Well, now wait a minute.
It's very good. I don't think Jordan Travis is that goddamn good. I'm tired of seeing all this hype about Jordan Travis who can't throw a goddamn hit. So I'll try to figure out.
Okay. Yeah. Now, this is the same guy, Coach JB, who's trying to drive views. Obviously, he pays his damn mortgage based on this. This is his job now. So he's trying to rattle some people, get more views.
He's literally playing for clicks.
He knows it. Yeah. This is a big game in the YouTube world. We all know it. We don't. KB and I don't have to pay our bills based on what we do on this show. Yeah. Okay, but this guy does, and a lot of guys on YouTube do. This is their career. This is what they've elected, and he's a big mouth. He was a big mouth when he was on Last Chance U to drive that show, drive the views. Yeah, it's entertaining. He's supposed to be entertaining here. So he takes a swipe, knowing the Florida State people are very supportive of their team and of Jordan Travis. And he's a big mouth, and he's come out and he said shit that doesn't make any sense. Okay, Jordan Travis can't even hit a hitch. Really? Okay, it's a big mouth, big thing who sits on the couch, and he's got bigger problems than most of us know about. We don't need to get into all of that. But it's a cheap shot, cheap swipe at Florida State and this entire program. And you can see the other guys aren't in total agreement with what he's saying.
Even the guy in the Miami shirt. No, I think to add to your point, it's like you said. I mean, these guys whose their job is to run they have Patreon around their YouTube account. They have to say stuff like this in order to get click. He knew this would rile up the Florida State Twitter base, which is huge, and that would drive clicks to his episode. It would drive Miami fans and
I sent him a reply as well.
Oh gosh.
Well, you said later in the day he took down the clip.
No, someone else that tweeted.
Oh, someone else took it down.
He didn't take it down.
Okay.
He's not taking this down.
No.
But at the same, and obviously he's saying something that's controversial. If I were to, I disagree. Like you said, many of the points. I don't think Utah is blowing Florida State out. I think Oregon's a top 3 team in the country. But look what they just struggled. They just sort of struggled. They struggled with some of their games this season, and they blew Colorado out. But they've struggled this season. They're, in my eyes, regardless of what this dude says, I don't think there's any great elite. There's no number 1 team so far in the season. I've seen no team that has dominated their schedule thus far this season. Not Georgia, not Alabama, not Oregon. None of these teams. Not Washington struggled last week.
USC struggled.
Yeah, USC has no defense. I've seen no elite team. So to say Florida State's overhyped or overrated, I don't think you could say that, because I think the 1 through 10. Those could be interchanged very easily right now. I don't think there is any solidified number 1 team right now, and we won't know for the next 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma. We'll see if Oklahoma's for real. Texas beat Alabama. We don't know how good Alabama really is, but we know they're good. We don't know how elite they are anymore. So things are going to start to shift themselves out. I do agree with one point he made. I do think Jordan Travis has to get better. I don't think right now Jordan Travis is a Heisman contender. Jordan Travis has
we
missed
said
a
that
lot
a
of
long
balls.
time ago.
He's missed a lot of key balls. He hasn't been able to find his deep ball in the last couple of games. I think his vision, and we talked about this on other shows, like you said, he's missed a couple of key balls and key plays. And I think he has the ability to get better at that. We saw it last year. Him and Johnny Wilson connected on a lot of big plays last year. And luckily in overtime against Clemson, he did it. He made the big play to the big guy. But we need to see more consistency during the course of the game. And maybe it's him not pressing always for the big play. Make the smart play. Make the 5 or 10 yard play. Instead of doing fades down the sideline for 30-plus yards, we only need 5. So to that point, I don't think Jordan Travis is a Heisman guy right at this point. But that doesn't mean if they go on a win streak of 7 straight wins and he's throwing up 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, that he can't be. Because I think he has a lot of talent, and he's driven this team to a ton of wins, and I love the guy as a player. So that is the only little point there that maybe he has some credence. But the way he says it, like I said, he's not backing up with any stats. I guarantee this guy hasn't watched one full Florida State game this entire season, outside maybe the LSU game, which we looked incredible on. I don't think he's watching, the full Clemson game. He's not going to watch this weekend. He's got his, he's flipping around, So for him to make those statements without any credible factual statistics, anything like that, that's why, it's all for clicks. He's doing a social media thing just like everyone else is. Leave it at that. It's not worth me, tweeting back at him or anything like that. He'll move on to the next topic. He'll say, someone else is overhyped this weekend. Someone else is bad just to drive clicks. I get it. It's not worth getting riled about.
And in between all his curse words, you get some grammar now and then, but every other word's a curse word, and it's just, I've seen him. He's entertaining at times, but that was a cheap shot, cheap swipe, and I think you summed it up.
Yeah.
Good news for UNC. They got Tess Walker back. Looks like he can start playing right away. He's been practicing, obviously, with UNC Tar Heels. The NCAA came with a reversal, which was shocking, but they came with a reversal to allow him to play based on additional information sent in by the school. I mean, I didn't read the whole article. I don't know if you got anything out of it, but the whole thing's a little bizarre.
Well,
I mean, if you're doing if you're doing a thorough investigation, and that's the NCAA's job, to work with the school on this medical hardship, whatever you want to call it, all the facts should be there before they make a decision. Now, all of a sudden, they're saying, well, UNC had other information they sent forward, and now we've looked at it, and that one piece of information changed the whole decision. It smells bad. The whole thing smells bad of what went down, and it makes the NCAA look really incompetent or come out smelling bad.
And here's their quote. Here's a quote, just to put it in context if you haven't read it. The NCAA staff received new information regarding University of North Carolina student-athlete Tess Walker this week. Staff determined the new information qualifies Walker for a transfer waiver. The new information had not been made available by UNC previously, despite the school's multiple chances to do so. Like, what a passive-aggressive statement was that. Either two things happened here, because we all saw the PR, rampage that, UNC went on to call out the NCAA, their coach, Mac Brown, tons of social media. He threw out the NCAA when he got denied. And I give him a ton of credit for doing that, put the pressure on the NCAA. You saw people on ESPN getting behind Tez and stuff like that. But that statement says to me, either one, that the waiver process is so freaking complicated that there's like that line that one document you couldn't realize that was in the 95 pages of things that you have to provide, like an insurance claim. Like, you're not covered for da-da-da because of line X da-da-da. Like, either the transfer process to get a waiver is that complicated and UNC literally wasn't aware of it because it was so damn hard to figure out, or the NCAA is likely just covering their ass potentially because they may have messed up and not seen the document till this week. because
That's
UNC may have just sent them everything and said, "Here's everything." We have everything covered, and maybe it just slipped through the cracks.
It makes whoever was involved in this situation incompetent. That's what it makes it look like, except for Tez Walker, who's the guy just waiting there. So congratulations to Tez Walker to get back on the field. The question is, does this have any impact on Darrell Jackson? I think not. I don't think it's going to impact. I don't think this is all of a sudden they're going to say, well, we screwed up on Darrell Jackson too. That would really make them look incompetent.
Well, what I would want to know, what document do they provide that maybe that Florida State needs to highlight for Darrell Jackson? No, if I was the AD of Florida State, I'd be reaching out to the AD of North Carolina and say, what did they tell you? What was the document that got this reversed? Because
you could do that.
Maybe that's where we need to go and
highlight.
Are we
missing something?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we missing something
here?
Do we
need to tell them, hey, we did provide that doc? Because that's what UNC is saying. We're like, UNC is saying, no, NCAA, don't call us out because we gave you everything that you needed.
KB, this can't be that complicated.
It's not.
It can't be. It's like in Darrell Jackson's case, his mother, who lives up near Tallahassee someplace, is either ill, severely ill, has issues that they need him home to help with or to be close by or not.
Yeah.
Come on. How complicated can this be? Now, maybe the NCAA makes it complicated. If they need doctor's statements or witness statements, gather them. It's not that hard. And they're making this bigger than it is. Yeah. Incompetencies exist at the NCAA level.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one last thing is that does Tez Walker, how does he get that time back that he lost by the NCAA's F up? I mean, he's missed 4 or 5 games now. How does that work with eligibility? How does he get?
Well, I guess they could grant him. They're the governing organization. They could grant him 5 more games into the next season.
That would be my next question: is how do I get that time back? Or how does UNC look at this in that?
There's only one organization that can grant time, and that's the NCAA.
And that's why we need to abolish the NCAA.
And then he should perhaps make an appeal based. I'd like to get those 5 games back if I want them, if I opt to use them.
And that's the thing, because
he's not going to the pros next year, probably.
I would. That's
unless he lights it up here, the final part of the season.
Well, and that's what I would say is that. Should UNC control his time? Because if he's not granted, should they only play him 4? I don't know if he's redshirt previously. That 4-game, the 4-game limit.
Well, he wants to play. They're going to.
I get it, but I don't know. They should fight to get those 5 games back somehow.
I guarantee they're going to play him. They're trying to win the ACC. Yeah. They got a great quarterback. They have a damn good chance, and they add in another. Looks like a fairly high ceiling potential receiver.
Yeah.
That could help them and potentially match up with Florida State in the championship game. You're damn right they're going to play him.
Yeah. So good for him. Okay. And maybe we won't speculate because I know a lot of people will say Darrell Jackson on the way. No, we don't know that. But hopefully,
it's
like
apples
I said,
apple and orange.
If I'm the AD of Florida State, I'm finding out what that document was that changed the decision.
Well, yeah, I think we look at. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think, but whether or not you get information, that's privacy information. Now you're into privacy issues.
Or I'm having Darrell Jackson DM the kid Tez and say, "Dude, what did it take?"
He could do that. Or Florida State has probably a right to call up there with the right personnel and say, "Listen, are we missing anything here?
Yeah.
Is there any information that would sway this decision if we had it in hand or we could get it?" That should have been already covered now.
Yeah.
That's a normal investigation, except when you get into investigations like the U.S. Congress runs, which never I was going to say the wrong word, never frickin' end. They're endless. It's ridiculous in that regard. Okay. Now, I mentioned this before when you were absent from the room here, from the studio. And I sent you an article this week. It was written after that Colorado USC game.
Who are you sending these articles to?
No, wait. Colorado had a 3-minute drive going where potentially they could win the game, beat USC. And they just mismanaged that 2 or 3 minutes so horribly wrong. I mean, even the analysts called that right. It was terrible. And I sent you, and then And we talked about that. And then an article came out, because I'm always harping on this, because we don't have insider access. We're not present at the post-game media pressers.
We're not?
And no, we're not. Okay, I see them on TV. All right, so yeah, this is it. I think this is it. That's not the cartoon. That's some kind of commercial. But go back to the headlines. We just need the headline. The headline: Deion Sanders gets no post-game questions about questionable play calling. I listened to that whole presser immediately after. Right? Mm-hmm. And Sanders is pretty, I would say, he's pretty easy to talk to in these things. He's not intimidating to anybody in the room. All they were asking about his sons. How'd your son feel? How'd this feel? How that? No one said, tell us about the final drives, the minute, the mismanage or the management of those minutes. Not one person, and there were several in the room, did they ask that question. And it goes right to my point, KB. You know I harp on this. The media, all media, including FSU inside media, don't ask good questions. They ask leading questions, and they're almost, I can sense it, afraid to ask coaches questions. Sanders is not one of those guys. He's very direct, and he's very candid. All they had to do is ask him about what his thoughts were on the final drive and the management of those minutes. You don't have to say about your son. He's the quarterback. And Sanders said, he's a quarterback. He's not my son when he's on the field. Ask that question. And they didn't do it. And I'm glad to see Mike Florio.
Yeah, Florio.
He wrote this article, not one question. Because when you're not in the room, you can't ask these questions that people really want to hear about.
Even from a fan perspective, I was watching that game, and it was just a bizarre sequence.
It was bizarre.
The play caller called runs up the middle, and the clock is and there's just no urgency on the play, on the whole sequence of events, and they're only down a touchdown. It's just like they ran 5 total runs on that last drive, and Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator, is calling draw plays out of the shotgun. It just made no sense. Where was the urgency? And as a fan, you want to know why was this bizarre play calling happening? What was the thinking behind it?
But beyond that, KB, I want your impression of why would media not ask that? Now, in NFL media, where the NFL coaches must come out, and they must, I assume these guys have to come out too. I don't know. But the guys at the NFL level, they don't have any problem asking these questions. You know why? Because nobody can pull their credentials in that regard. There's not this, I feel like there's this lovey-dovey relationship between college media and who gets their credentials and who doesn't. And they're afraid to ask questions, or they don't know how to. It's one or the other, okay? But to ask a professional question to any college coach about questionable play calling without making a judgment on it, what was going on in the final few minutes of that play calling, that's a legitimate professional question. Instead of the softball stuff that I hear all week from a lot of different media. That's it. That's my take. Yeah. Anybody thinks I'm wrong? Let me know. I don't care.
No, I think.
Do you agree or disagree?
No, I honestly think, and what he did when he wrapped up the article, he said those, either maybe no one wanted to piss off Coach Prime, or maybe everyone thought everyone else would ask such a basic, obvious question, but no one did. And that was basically
listen, after you've had 4 or 5 questions, nobody's asked it. It's the number one question on the board. Ask the question. What are you afraid of to ask these questions?
And I can tell you,
all I hear is leading questions. Let's go to FSU.
I can tell you
post-game practice pressers, it's the same. How do you feel about the feelings of the team? They don't ask any direct questions that fans are really interested in. They're the most boring things. And to be honest with you, it would be hard to go to them.
I can tell you, because I interned in a news station in Milwaukee, and I got to
I know you did.
work with the Brewers and stuff like that. And they threw me in the locker room, and I think it's a mixture of one. A lot of these guys, and depending on their varying degree of how long they've been in with it, they are trying to keep relationships with these folks, and some of that is like you may be star-studded, and I can remember, and of course I was a college kid when I was doing this, so it's a little bit different. But if you're a young reporter or a mid-range reporter, and you're at the stage and you're throwing up a question to Deion Sanders, I think a lot of those folks, and it kind of brought up in the article, is that you're not trying to piss off the head coach. And you're trying to
How does a good question piss him off, though?
Because
it's
he may be pissed about the play.
What you saw.
I get that, but people are so scared to lose access or to never be called again. That's why they go straight down the middle. They go straight down the middle because if they don't want to take the chance, if they're growing their career, that they lose access, they never get picked again in the crowd. They may still have access, but they never may get picked because they know that coach knows. It may be any other coach, but that coach knows that guy's going to give you the tricky question, and I may want to avoid that. I'm just telling you from my point of view, having been someone in an arena.
I understand.
That's.
Did you feel intimidated? Because you were young.
Yeah, a little bit. But you're also, at my age, I was more star-studded.
I guess I don't feel intimidated being the.
And sometimes a sports director is saying, just ask these questions. Sometimes a sports director will say, I want this, so we can cut it up and put it on video.
Right.
So sometimes it's just put down to them. You only ask these questions because this is what we want.
Do you think, as a young reporter, I think they gain respect from certain coaches. I think Deion,
it's a personality. At the
okay,
coach,
well, I've watched enough of Deion now. I watch a lot of his pressers. I'm a Colorado alum as well. I watch a lot of his pressers. I'm interested in what he's got to say. He's very candid, and I think he respects the people in there to ask the questions. I don't think there's a better coach. I would probably feel more reserved trying to ask Saban than I would Deion. Deion's pretty easy to ask questions to. I've watched almost all his pressers. I've watched all of Mike Norvell's pressers. And the guys in Mike Norvell's, it's so softballish. I'm saying it the way I feel. It just drives me crazy. That's why on Twitter I put nothing significant, pretty boring today, because that's what it is. Other guys chop it up. You're right. You see them, they chop up things, and I could do the same thing, chop it up to get views. I'm not going to do that. It's not worth your time to watch it for 15 minutes. Says nothing. Says nothing.
Like I said, I think a lot of it's self-preservation. A lot of it's, this is what the sports director wants you from this media station to get. You ask these questions, I want this so I can create content, nothing else. And some of it, like I said, it's protecting
I don't
himself.
need to beat it to death, but when there's obvious things that happen in a ball game, and the first question is not about that, I begin to wonder. That's all. No. But
begin to wonder what? There's no grand conspiracy. There's no grand conspiracy. It's just.
I didn't say there was a grand conspiracy. I said I wonder why they're not doing it. They're either incompetent or they're scared. It's one or the other.
No, there's more.
Or self-preservation, as you said. Self-preservation is part of being scared because it's self-preservation.
Or a directive. It's a directive.
All right. My opinion.
All right. I think that'll do it. So we both expect Florida State.
I got one other question.
Yep.
What game besides Florida State will you be watching? One game this weekend.
Oh, I hate 3:30 because it just takes up the afternoon. But I want to watch I like the Kentucky. Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, that's the obvious one.
I was going to go Georgia and UK.
Yeah,
Kentucky's got a good ball club.
And Texas, Oklahoma
game's in Athens. It's in Athens, so.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma at noon. I don't think you can beat that, though. And then you have Georgia, Kentucky at 7. So I think those three games, you start with Texas at noon, Florida State at 3:30, and then Georgia, Kentucky at 7.
Three.
You'll be set there. I also will want to check in and see how Louisville plays against Notre Dame.
Yeah, Louisville's 4-0.
Yep, and Notre Dame's offense, I mean, they've played some good opponents defensively, but that offense hasn't looked fantastic. Their defense looks good, but Notre Dame's offense.
Louisville's 3-0 in the conference right now.
So that'll be a test for them to see if Louisville's legit this year.
Okay, last question: does Florida State beat the spread or not?
God, I hope so. That's clearly my answer. If they don't, we're gonna have a lot of questions.
Well, we're gonna drop. We could drop depending what teams 6, 7 do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because we're already,
there's no reason they shouldn't. 24 points. It's 24
Let's
points.
go Noles.
Yep. All right. So that'll do it, guys. We're taking Florida State 24 to cover the spread. Let's see it all come together out of the bye week. Once again, let us know your thoughts. What do you think the score prediction will be? Comment below and let us know. And what other games are you watching this weekend? We gave you our top 3 picks. Let us know what you want to watch and who you're cheering for outside of Florida State, that is. And, we'll take it from there. We'll do –
watch for the old man at the game.
Look out for the old man. I may be live post-game after the game to give a quick breakdown if I'm available. If not, we'll do a recap show on Sunday just to break things down and give our thoughts. But hopefully it's a blowout and we can just have some fun afterwards. So thank you all again. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, everyone who dropped by. And and like Mike said, let's take the game to the next level with Florida State, and let's have a good one. So enjoy your Friday, enjoy your Saturday, and everyone stay safe out there. Go Noles, and have a great one. See y'all.
Let's go Noles.